Hey everybody, Mark from tenttable.com. Nice seeing you here today. Today we're gonna actually be going over a video of sectional West Coast frame tents. I have here, we're gonna put together a 10 by 30 West Coast frame sectional top. Right now I'm laying out the frame. It's always the first thing I do when I get to a job. I pull out all the parts, I make sure everything's there, okay? My perimeter pipes, my ridge pipes, all my fittings. Nothing's worse than getting to a job and thinking you have everything and you end up with one corner or one foot plate or pipe short. So first thing we're doing right now, laying everything out, make sure everything's complete, okay? Corners in place, T's in place, side T's in place. We are right now pinning the feet on the legs, okay? You know, just so that's one less thing we have to do later. It's nice to have the foot plate on the leg when you're putting the tent up so you're not sinking into the mud. And like any of the West Coast frames, you know, they're all put together, steel fitting, lining up a hole, dropping in your R pin, all right, to make sure it's locked in place. So over the next few minutes, you will see us starting to assemble the frame, and I'll let you know some certain things we're doing when we're putting that together. Advantages to sectional tents are one top can build a variety of different sizes. So, you know, the one we're building today is going to be a 10 by 30. It'll be a 20-foot mid with two 10-foot ends. And basically with the West Coast frame system, this is a 10 wide. So as many 9'3" or 10-foot sections I have, I can make that tent 10 by 10 or 10 by 100. So walkways for weddings or events where you might need some sort of marquee is usually going to be a sectional style top, so you're not concerned with the weight and the overall bulk of, let's say, a piece of vinyl 10 foot wide by 100 foot long. So we'll show you about the lacing afterwards, but right now we're going to get working on pinning the frame together. We're going to start with the perimeter pipes. We'll work from the corners all the way around, and once that is put into place, we will then start doing the inner framework. A lot of people may look at a West Coast frame, wonder why there's two holes here, okay? This second hole is actually a positioning hole. So, you know, let's say when you get a lot of pressure on the pipe, you want to use that positioning pole. That way, if I put this in, I slide this forward, you notice that pin stops the pipe, and now I can pop my pin right in. I want my pin, actually I should do that the other way. You always want your pins facing so this sharp edge is not touching the tent vinyl itself. So if I have this on the inside, the valance is here, I'm not going to do anything, and at that point I can remove that positioning pin and then I can go right to my next fitting. So we're going to start working on that right now, and we're just going to work in, you know, strip basically right around the perimeter of the tent. We have our perimeter of the frame already assembled. Now we are going to start building, you know, from one end down. We will start putting together the rest of the framework that's going to complete the ridge crown in the corners. All right, everybody. Now you can see that didn't take long. That was probably under 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, okay? We got this 10 wide by 30 wide assembled, and we're basically to the point now where we're gonna start stitching the top together. We're gonna lay out our tarp, and we're gonna lay out our top, and I'll go through the process of lacing a top. The lacing process is going to be identical, whether it's a 10 wide or a 60 wide. And if you look at this top, we took it out of the bag. It was already laced together. So you have a 5-foot end, a 10-foot midsection, a 10-foot midsection, and a 5-foot end, okay? as you can see here, this is already stitched together. On any of your sectional tents, you're going to have a rain flap like this that comes over. It's velcroed and clipped. Okay, that's to keep the wind and the rain from coming out and getting into the lace section. You are going to have grommet ends and you're going to have rope ends. So that's a very important thing that you want to remember when you're grabbing a tent out of your warehouse. One end's going to have ropes, one end's going to have grommets. If you pull two grommet ends, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to get that tent up. So make sure you're marking everything properly in your warehouse, okay? This is going to have alternating ends, all right? Rope, grommet, rope, grommet, rope, grommet. So you just want to make sure that when you're grabbing your ends, you're grabbing a left and a right end, a rope or a grommet end. Now, I've unstitched part of this, okay, so that we could just go through a quick example of how you're lacing a tent together. Whether it's a 10 wide or a 60 wide, it's the same thing, it's the same process. You're gonna start at, the peak of the tent. Right now I'm dead center. I'm gonna take this loop, I'm gonna put it through the grommet. I'm gonna pull it down to the next grommet, and I'm gonna feed this rope loop through and through. Move down to the next one. Gonna pull it through this loop. Pulling as I'm going, and as you can see, now the tent is naturally becoming laced together. And when I get to the last loop, I'm going to make sure I'm pulling everything tight, and I'm going to put a couple of half hitches in here so that I can get this undone when I need to unlace this tent. Now I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to hook my rain flap back up and Velcro everything in place. Hook and loop, pull it tight, and Velcro. So when you are laying your tent out to lace it, you are going to have the top of the tent up. We will flip it before we put it onto the frame itself, but this is just the most, it's the easiest, really the only way is you're lacing from the top and then flipping. Now we have flipped our tent top over, all right, and the next process on any West Coast frame setup is going to be, now that we have our tent top on the tarp upside down, we are going to start on this edge, and we are going to start strapping the tent to the piping. I do not want it pulled tight. I just want to get them pulled on and put into a place, and then I will tighten them once the entire tent is pulled over the frame. Then he's going to put just a few straps, one or two on each side, on each pole before we lift it into place. Okay, so once you have your frame assembled, your top is on and it's loosely strapped, now is the great time to take and put your ropes or ratchet straps through the fittings or around the fittings of the tent so you're ready to stake it down once it's up in the air. Okay, now once your tent is completely in the air, it's time to get the tent staked down. Make sure every tent is staked and secured to the ground. You can either use your ratchet straps on your stake, or as you can see, we are using a double half hitch, which is a very simple knot to tie and is very secure. Now we have our tent pretty much installed, but if you look at the inside of the tent now, the lace lines are covered and hidden. You know, you shouldn't be able to see any of the laces or anything protruding from the area. So that's pretty much it on your sectional tent and how you lace them together. And as I've said before, it's not going to matter what size, whether it's a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, even up to some of our large 100 wide rental tents. They all go together in the exact same fashion, but you do want to make sure that they are marked compatible products that are going together.